Giving the SEC and Big Ten 4 automatic spots in the college football playoff, I think, is bad for the sport. Now, if you haven't heard, we're most likely going to move to either a 14-team or a 16-team college football playoff. And the SEC and the Big Ten probably going to get 4 automatic spots each, while the ACC and the Big 12 each get 2. The group of 5 gets 1, and if we go to 14 teams, that'll be 1 at-large bid, or if it's 16, there'll be 3. Now, the reason I don't think it's great for the sport is guaranteeing any conference a certain amount of bids if they make the playoff. It just seems artificial. I can't argue for meritocracy on one hand and automatic conference bids on the other because each year is different. And in reality, the Big Ten and the SEC would pretty much get that many teams in regardless if it was mandated or not. I mean, look at this past year with a 12-team playoff. The Big Ten got 4 teams in, and the SEC got 3 and almost 4. Now, here's a simple idea. Let's just take the top 12 teams in the country. We need to fix the format and the structure of the playoff, but not through mandates for automatic conference bids. Give the top 4 seeds a bye, regardless of conference. But why the SEC and the Big Ten? Why are they doing it? Well, it's pretty simple. It's because they can. In the geopolitical world of college football, those 2 conferences are the superpowers. They are the United States and China, and depending on where you live, determines on which one you think China is. But to the victors go the spoils. I get it. And even though I'm from SEC country, I think it's a bridge too far. Give the conference championship game winners of the top 4 conferences an automatic bid, but don't guarantee them the top 4 seeds and automatic buys. Outside of that, there should be no automatic qualifiers, whether it's Power 4 or a group of 5. We aren't fixing the main problem by doing this. It's like fixing a cut on a finger of someone who's having a heart attack. It's not the main problem, and that's why we need a college football czar that is separate of conference affiliation and network affiliation. David Cohn, please tell me why I'm right, or, if you want to be wrong, why I'm wrong.
A lot of good stuff in there. I understand the power play here when you have the 2 biggest revenue drivers in the sport pressing their advantage. But like you, I just wonder, is there any single individual or entity that's looking out for the long-term best interest of college football? Because I don't see that right now. And again, I'm not trying to be too dramatic, but I do think the sport is in serious jeopardy of doing long-term damage to itself. What did Ronald Reagan say? Freedom's never more than 1 generation from extinction. If freedom can go extinct, college football can too. I need people to get out of this mindset of, college football has the most rabid fans, so we can do anything that we want to the sport and we'll be just fine. Now, look, a lot of good's going to come from this too. They're going to be pros to every con. The SEC possibly moving to a 9-game in-conference schedule. The SEC Big Ten matchups that are going to be cross-network. I think that could be a very good thing here. But yes, I do. I just wonder, this is a sport that takes its traditions very seriously, right? It's a sport of traditions. If you go messing with that, I don't understand. And at the same time, the Big Ten and the SEC want to get automatic qualifiers, but they're still fine having a mandatory group of 5 team. I don't understand why group of 5 programs don't want their own playoff. Again, I think we have too many teams vying for 1 championship. If you took this same exact approach to UFC or to boxing, Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather, greatest pound-for-pound boxers during their day, wouldn't be world champions because they wouldn't beat the heavyweights of the world. We need more spots. We need more divisions and categories, but I don't know how this fixes that unless there's a complete breakaway.
Yeah, there's a couple things you said there I want to get into, but I want to give a little more background to the audience. The SEC and the Big Ten are basically going to be in charge of the college football playoff format in moving forward.
In 2026.
In 2026.
2026 to 2031 is the next contract with ESPN.
Yes. So they're able to mandate it. And listen, I understand if you're the SEC or the Big Ten wanting to do this. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying they're stupid for doing it. What I'm saying is I don't think they should be allowed to do it. Because like I said just a second ago, the SEC and the Big Ten are always going to get at least 3 teams in. At least. I mean, we can have the argument about Alabama and SMU on this last one, but the SEC got 3 and the Big Ten got 4. And to your point, it's not as much about me thinking that college football is going to go extinct. It's that I want it operating at maximum efficiency and the best way possible. I think it'll always be good, but I want it to be great. I want it to be the best version of itself. And I feel like by allowing the SEC and the Big Ten to basically have carte blanche over everything, which is what they have, why don't, and by them saying, well, we get 4 automatic spots, then you get 2, then you get 2. We need to take the top 12 teams in the country, but we got to fix the structure first. We're not fixing the main problem. we're not fixing that. If you win your conference, you automatically get a bye. Boise shouldn't have got a bye. Arizona State are teams that win the conference. That doesn't automatically make you a 1 through 4 seed. Now, if you're Oregon and you win the Big Ten and you're the number 1 overall seed, you should be able to get a bye. But why couldn't 2 teams from the Big Ten get a bye if it worked out like that? And then just taking the top 12 or having a mechanism that is able to pick the top 12 the best, other than like we talked about with Josh Pate, you have a bunch of fake committee members that really don't do anything except spit out what a computer tells them to spit out.
Well, the carte blanche you're talking about was given to the SEC and the Big Ten on threat of them forming their own league anyway.
Which I think we're going to do.
Sankey a year ago or 2 years ago. So, yeah, but again, I just think it's official. Also, Ross Dellinger's article is fantastic.
It is.
So if you want to read the whole thing,
and
I pulled a bunch of stuff that we need to talk about, but one thing I found funny at the very beginning was officials described the 14-team playoff format as a 4-4-2-2-1-1. What is this, a social security number or something? Like, that's not going to catch on, brother.
I mean, 4-2-2-1-1 basketball defense that we run every Thursday.
Yeah, well, I mean, and Blaine, why can't we just have a 9-game in-conference schedule for the SEC regardless? Why can't we just have a Big Ten and SEC crossover annual game, kind of like we do in college basketball and men's and women's, without having to give automatic conference spots? I don't think this is the best way to do it. And damn it, I want to do it the best way because it's our favorite sport.
Talking about this just makes my brain hurt, and it probably does for every college football fan that's out there. It's something new every other week. We should put 12 teams, 4 teams. Let's have -3 teams. Let's have 26 teams. Let's put 50 in. Hell, they're about to change the basketball tournament from 64 to 70-something. I'm just sick of it. I'm just tired of it already. The biggest problem with me is not about teams or automatic qualifying bids. Is how the hell does the committee pick these teams?
Well,
what's the process?
Influence will go down now with this, though. Their influence will go down, which is another big part of that article.
True, which is great.
4 SEC, 4. Honestly, the only thing that really comes into play is which is the group of 5 team that we want to pick, and was Notre Dame in the top 14? Like, if it's 14 and not 16, right? Because there's only one at-large spot, which was done purposefully for Notre Dame as an exception. If they're in the top 14, they then get that out.
I just don't know if we need to change the playoff number again just to find a way to get Alabama into the playoffs.
Well, this is why I wanted 8. This is why I wanted 8, because you knew it was going to expand more and more. And you bring up college basketball, and I mean, you're right. They're talking about going to 76 teams. We're going to talk about that a little bit later in the week. It's just gotten to the point now where, and David, when we were talking before we came on, I think you brought up a good point. Is there something that's kind of counterintuitive to this, though, for the SEC and Big Ten? Because if you say it's 4, and you say we're guaranteed at least 4 spots, is it capped at 4?
Yeah.
What happens if that 5th team is vying for that 1 at-large spot if it's 14 teams, or one of the 3 at-large spots if it's 16 teams? Does this put a cap on maybe a year where you could have had 5? Because you look at the NCAA tournament, hell, there could be 13 SEC teams that get in instead of saying, well, 7 automatically got to get in each year. I can make the argument that you're almost going to limit the amount of teams that you could have made.
I think that's a really good point. That could be the case. I wonder if the SEC will look at this past football season and say, wait, we have a lot of really great teams. They beat each other. We kind of cannibalized ourselves. We had the 5 or 6 best teams in the country, but we only got 3 spots because they're all beating each other. I understand the power play and trying to protect against that. There are 2 other things that I want to mention while we're on this topic, and this is, again, from Ross Dellinger's article. One is ESPN's role. I found this fascinating. Take it for what it's worth. This says another important entity involved in the conversation is the company paying the $1.3 billion annually to the college football playoff for the rights, and that is ESPN. Again, this is 2026 to 2031. Though they have not publicly commented, ESPN executives have expressed at least some concerns and apprehension about this new format. One power broker put it, you are going to alienate part of the country, quote unquote. So that's interesting.
I mean, again, I just don't understand how I can sit up here, or we can sit up here and say, we want meritocracy in college football. We want it to be decided on the field and the best teams get in. And then before the season say, no. Well, this group gets this, and this group gets this, and this group gets this. And then we'll have 1 at-large spot. We'll let, quote-unquote meritocracy take advantage when we all know that's being built up for Notre Dame. I just don't feel like this is the best way to go.
One more thing here in the multi-automatic qualifier playoff proposal, conference championship games definitely become less valuable.
Which I hate.
A reimagined championship weekend may feature conference play-in games for that third or fourth automatic qualifier for the SEC and the Big Ten.
It's just, I guess they're just going to keep changing everything. At this point, this is just not a win for me. Hey, what's up, YouTube? Appreciate you guys being here. If you haven't noticed, on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we're dropping new segments of our new show, Locker Room Talk. So make sure you're subscribed and keep up with that, as well as all the beautiful things here at Crain & Company Goes to College.